The staff at Prince Andrew's new residence on the Sandringham estate have reportedly staged what amounts to a mutiny, refusing to serve the disgraced former Duke following a series of explosive allegations about his behavior and his past association with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. According to multiple sources familiar with the situation, a long list of employees at King Charles's Norfolk estate have made it clear they want nothing to do with Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, whom insiders now describe as a total pariah. The staff revolt comes as Andrew prepares to take up permanent residence at Marsh Farm, a 5-bedroom farmhouse on the edge of the Sandringham estate that represents a dramatic downsizing from the 30-room Royal Lodge he occupied for 2 decades. But the move has been plagued by delays, demands, and now a full-blown staffing crisis that threatens to leave the 66-year-old former prince largely fending for himself for the first time in his life. According to royal sources who spoke to The Sun, bosses at the Sandringham estate have informed staff that they are not required to work with Andrew if they feel uncomfortable. The response was swift and decisive. They've been told they don't have to serve Andrew or work for him if they feel uncomfortable. A source revealed there is already quite a list saying no thanks. There is understandably a lot of disquiet as he is now a total pariah. The staff rebellion did not emerge in isolation. It follows the release of the latest batch of Epstein files, which contained a legal letter making disturbing allegations about Andrew's behavior during his friendship with the disgraced financier. The letter, dated 2011, claims that Andrew and Epstein asked an exotic dancer for a threesome while at Epstein's Palm Beach mansion in 2006. According to the dancer's lawyer, she was offered $10,000 to dance for the 2 men. After she performed, removing her clothes until she was wearing only a bra and panties, the letter alleges that Mr. Epstein and Prince Andrew then told my client they wanted to have a threesome. The dancer reportedly declined, stating she was hired to dance, not to have sex. The letter claims Epstein said they would pay her later, and they prevailed upon her to engage in various sex acts. After the men had satisfied themselves, she was driven back to the strip club where she worked. Of the promised $10,000 fee, she was reportedly paid only $2,000. Andrew has not responded to these specific allegations but has consistently denied any wrongdoing throughout the Epstein scandal. However, the damage to his reputation has been catastrophic. Already stripped of his royal titles, military affiliations, and patronages by his brother King Charles, Andrew has seen his public standing collapse entirely. The staff refusal to serve him represents a new low, a sign that even those employed by the royal family want nothing to do with him. The staffing crisis at Marsh Farm is particularly significant because it highlights just how far Andrew has fallen. For most of his life, the former Duke of York enjoyed a lifestyle of extraordinary privilege, with valets, chefs, butlers, housemaids, and cleaners at his beck and call at Royal Lodge. That 30-bedroom mansion in Windsor Great Park was staffed by a retinue of servants who catered to his every need. Now, according to palace insiders, Andrew has been told he can have just a chef and a valet when he finally moves into Marsh Farm, and even finding those 2 individuals willing to work for him has reportedly proven difficult. A source familiar with the staffing arrangements told The Sun that what Andrew will get at Marsh Farm will likely be a skeleton staff at best. The same source added, it's possible for the first time in his life he will have to open the front door to people himself. For a man who once traveled the world as a trade envoy, who hosted shooting parties for wealthy friends, who lived in a mansion filled with priceless artwork from the Royal Collection Trust, the prospect of answering his own front door represents a humiliation that would have been unthinkable just a few years ago. The staff rebellion at Marsh Farm is not the first time Andrew's treatment of employees has drawn scrutiny. Far from it. Former royal household staff have spoken out repeatedly about the former Duke's demanding and at times demeaning behavior toward those employed to manage his domestic life. Perhaps the most bizarre example involves Andrew's extensive collection of teddy bears, which staff were required to arrange with military precision. According to Charlotte Briggs, a former maid who worked at the palace in the mid-1990s, Andrew kept 72 stuffed toys on his bed, each of which had to be positioned in a specific order. As soon as I got the job, I was told about the teddies, and it was drilled into me how he wanted them. I even had a day's training, Briggs told The Sun in 2022. Everything had to be just right. It was so peculiar. But he absolutely loved teddies and was very clear about how he wanted them arranged. The arrangement system was exacting. The largest teddies were placed at the back, with smaller ones in descending order toward the front. Two favorite bears sat on mahogany thrones beside his bed. Most of the toys wore sailor outfits from around the world. Briggs recalled, "It took me half an hour to arrange them. Most bizarre thing to be paid for." Former Royal Protection Officer Paul Page described handwritten instructions that detailed the precise placement of the toys, along with cushions labeled Daddy, Ducks, and Prince, blankets, and a fur. The instructions were laminated and kept near the bed. According to Page, Andrew would scream and shout if his servants failed to place them exactly how he wanted. The teddy bear obsession has reportedly followed Andrew to Marsh Farm, though on a much reduced scale. According to sources cited by Heat World, Andrew brought only one teddy with him, with the rest placed in storage along with furniture and other belongings. A source told the publication that Andrew has completely anthropomorphized them, to the point that he's convinced the move out of Royal Lodge is going to be hard on them because, as he says, it's their home too. The same source added, "It really seems like being forced to move has sent him into a full-on meltdown, because he keeps telling people the bears won't cope with the change. It's like he's transferring his own emotions onto them the way a little kid would." The teddy bears are currently understood to be housed in a South London warehouse alongside Andrew's other possessions, under 24-hour protection. A cuddly monkey, however, is said to currently be on his person. The teddy bear saga is not the only example of Andrew's demanding behavior. Biographer Andrew Lowney's book, entitled The Rise and Fall of the House of York, revealed a pattern of imperious conduct. One former equerry described Andrew as a rude, ignorant sod, claiming that housemaids had to climb 4 flights of stairs each morning to draw back his curtains while he remained in bed. Staff also reported cleaning up scrunched-up tissues around his bed and being told to summon television engineers to show Andrew how to work the remote control. Perhaps most tellingly, a new biography by royal author Robert Hardman claims that Andrew delivered a bizarre 30-minute lecture to one of his last visitors at Royal Lodge on how to make the perfect cup of tea. Hardman writes that Andrew left the visitor stunned with the detailed monologue. In the same conversation, Andrew reportedly referred to his Duke of York title as an avatar and claimed he could now discover the real me. The pattern of difficult behavior extends beyond staff to family members as well. Hardman's book also claims that Andrew's past behavior was so aggressive that his father, Prince Philip, once felt compelled to write a letter of apology to a senior staff member after a physical altercation between Andrew and Sir Tony Johnstone Burt, the master of the household. The incident reportedly occurred after Andrew was told Buckingham Palace could not host one of his events. Prince William, according to multiple sources, has long wanted his uncle out of the royal picture. In his book, William and Catherine, The Intimate Inside Story, the Daily Mirror's royal editor, Russell Myers, wrote that after Andrew's disastrous Newsnight interview in 2019, William spoke to his father to implore him and the Queen to take immediate action. A source told Myers, "Once you understand the fact that everything that happens in the here and now affects everything in the future, William's future, it is very easy to put yourself in his shoes." He never much liked his uncle and wanted him out of the picture immediately before the rot further set in. Now, with Andrew finally installed at Marsh Farm, those who have followed his career believe the staff refusal to serve him is not merely a practical problem, but a symbolic one. It represents the final rejection of a man who, for decades, believed himself above the rules that applied to everyone else. The staff at Sandringham have made their position clear. They will not serve him. And for Andrew, a man who once required 72 teddy bears arranged in precise order on his bed each morning, that rejection may be the most painful humiliation of all. The move to Marsh Farm itself has been a protracted and humiliating process that has tested the patience of King Charles and strained relations within the royal family. Andrew was evicted from Royal Lodge in early February 2026 after years of resistance and legal battles. He was initially moved to Wood Farm, a smaller property on the Sandringham estate where his father, Prince Philip, spent his final years. But Andrew has reportedly refused to leave Wood Farm, insisting that Marsh Farm must be fully renovated to meet his personal standards before he agrees to move. This has left King Charles increasingly frustrated, as the monarch wants to use Wood Farm for official guests visiting Sandringham. According to royal broadcaster Ian Pelham Turner, there is some dismay from King Charles that Andrew refuses to move to Marsh Farm, his final destination, until all the extensive renovations have been completed to his satisfaction. The delays have reportedly caused a rift with Andrew's younger brother, Prince Edward. Historically, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh stay at Wood Farm for their Easter break, with Andrew still occupying the property. Edward and Sophie were forced to stay in a nearby holiday let at a cost of over £4,000 per week. The irony is stark. A man stripped of his titles and roles is blocking a working royal from using a property intended for family visits. King Charles has reportedly grown so impatient that he has issued a veiled threat to his brother. According to sources cited by Fox Digital, if Andrew does not move out of Wood Farm soon, the king will turf his erstwhile brother and put him in a caravan. A caravan has reportedly been purchased for staff use on the estate, and the suggestion that Andrew could end up sleeping in it if he continues to frustrate the king has been described as a veiled threat. Prince Edward has been tasked with spending more time with his older brother in an attempt to persuade him to move. According to reports, Edward visited Andrew at Wood Farm for what was described as a quiet word to urge him to complete the move and stop dragging his heels. Edward reportedly became the first and only member of the royal family to visit Andrew in his exile in Norfolk, though other family members, including Princess Anne, have also reportedly made visits. The move to Marsh Farm represents a dramatic downgrade in Andrew's living circumstances. Royal Lodge was a 30-room mansion set in 98 acres of Windsor Great Park, complete with a swimming pool, gym, and extensive grounds. Marsh Farm is a 5-bedroom farmhouse on the edge of the Sandringham estate, surrounded by farmland and, reportedly, piles of manure. The contrast could not be more stark. According to reports, moving vans were spotted arriving at Marsh Farm in March 2026, carrying Andrew's possessions from Royal Lodge. However, many of his most valuable items, including artwork from the Royal Collection Trust, are understood to have been returned to the trust after Andrew was stripped of his titles. His fleet of Range Rovers with DOI number plates cannot be accommodated at Marsh Farm due to space constraints. His guns were surrendered to police last year, and, as previously reported, his 72 teddy bears have been placed in storage. Even the physical environment of Marsh Farm appears designed to humble the former prince. In March 2026, a large dump of manure was spread on fields next to the property, creating an odor that locals have described as overwhelming. A commentator for the Courier-Mail wrote, "Life in his new village of Wolferton, population 200, could not be further away from his former private jetting, Thai massage, getting one. All the things that Andrew loves best have been taken away from him." There is also the matter of security. In a sign of just how toxic Andrew's reputation has become, Marsh Farm recently suffered a major security breach when protesters climbed the fence to shout abuse at the property. A large, shielding fence has since been erected around the farmhouse, but the incident served as a reminder that Andrew remains a figure of intense public anger. The legal troubles are far from over. Andrew was arrested on his 66th birthday, February 19, 2026, on suspicion of misconduct in public office. The arrest related to accusations that he shared sensitive information with Jeffrey Epstein while serving as a trade envoy. After spending 11 hours at Aylsham Police Station, he was released under investigation. Police have since spent days searching Royal Lodge. There have been renewed calls for Andrew to testify before the U.S. Congress about his links to Epstein. Speaking on Talk TV, presenter Kevin O'Sullivan argued that Andrew's family should urge him to cooperate. Look, this is what I would say to him. You want to sort your mental health out and make yourself feel better. Do the right thing, do the decent thing, and testify to Congress about Jeffrey Epstein. For now, Andrew remains at Wood Farm, reportedly refusing to leave until Marsh Farm meets his personal royal standards. But with staff refusing to serve him, family patients wearing thin, and King Charles threatening a caravan, the former prince's options are rapidly diminishing. The man who once required 72 teddy bears arranged by size on his bed, who delivered half-hour lectures on tea-making, who screamed at servants, who failed to place his cushions correctly, is learning a harsh lesson. In the end, no amount of demands can force people to serve you when they have decided they no longer want to.